Alright, I'm taking things a little bit more casual, a little bit shorter with this one because let's face it, the MacBook Pros with Apple Silicon are just all really good. And we have to give Apple a lot of credit because when they first introduced them, they really hit the ground running. I've been using my MacBook Pro 14 with the M1 Pro ever since it was first announced. And that was a big deal for me because up until that point, I had been avoiding moving over to Macs. And now I just can't get off my MacBook Pros unless it's for gaming. And even that is about to change. Anyway, I'm getting far ahead of myself, so let's back things up because it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? This right here is the MacBook Pro with the M3 Pro processor inside, and this is in space black. Alright, it's been a couple of weeks since the new MacBooks have come out, but I've been juggling a lot of projects since buying this laptop, and in all honesty, it has been supporting me in all of that content. So yes, I bought this one, and it is finally an upgrade from the M1 Pro MacBook Pro that I have been using since it first came out. Apple did the usual thing when it comes to their launch events, talking about the next iteration of the processing power, while keeping much of the hardware basically the same. That is, until they introduced a brand new color, space black. Yeah, a 2-generation jump in the processor felt about right already, but then a new colorway, that put me over the top. Instead of space black though, it does feel a little bit more like space super gray. Far be it from me to believe that a completely blacked out laptop would actually come out of the same company that is all about the glossy white. It's still a very recognizable shade, however, meaning everyone around you will know that this is a 2023 MacBook Pro. And during a recent tech event where a lot of the tech friends were attending, a sea of dark MacBooks were definitely on display. Now, related to the new colors is the material, which Apple claim has been treated to counter fingerprints way better than before. And if you look really closely, I mean, it doesn't really come up on the camera here. There are some smudges here and there, but those are easily rubbed out. And really, I don't have too many marks on this laptop, even after a couple of weeks of using it. I would love for something like this to finally come to the keyboards because as you can see pretty plainly already, I've been typing a lot on here and those marks are definitely going to be setting in probably even faster than I would like. And I refuse to get one of those like plastic covers because it makes the typing experience feel different, borderline uncomfortable in all honesty. The only thing that has really been adjusted here is the XDR display, which is now a slightly brighter mini LED panel. It still looks gray and a lot of media on here is still fun to watch, even on the 14-inch model, which I prioritize because of its travel-friendly design as compared to the 16-inch model. You still get all of the usual fixings from a full-sized HDMI port to 3 USB-C Thunderbolt ports and an SD card slot, and of course a headphone jack over here because God forbid that ever is removed on a laptop like this. One thing that I actually enjoyed in the unboxing experience is how the accessories and even the included stickers take on the space black color. The MagSafe charging cable is actually in my bag from now on because I think it looks cool and it would give me fast charging speeds, but I will admit, I tend to not remember to use it and just charge using USB-C ports anyway. Now, speaking of charging, the included brick for the MacBook Pro here is fine, but it's way better to charge this and other devices at the same time and at the same high speed, courtesy of the sponsor of this video, Ugreen. The Ugreen Nexode 140-watt charger is a great travel companion that has already helped me on a couple of trips, giving me the flexibility to charge the new MacBook Pro at full speed. The MacBook Pro 16-inch with the M3 Max does require 140 watts in the charger, which means that the Ugreen Nexode 140-watt charger can do the job when that laptop is plugged into it by itself. But for my MacBook Pro with the M3 Pro processor, I can have it plugged into the bottom USB-C port for 65-watt charging, then I can plug in my iPhone in the next port for 45-watt charging, and then I can put anything into the USB-A charger like my camera battery charger for 22.5-watt charging. The power dispenser system adjusts the power output to protect each device's battery, and the thermal guard does temperature scans 800 times a second to make sure everything stays cool. And this smaller, travel-friendly size for the 140-watt charger is thanks to GaN technology, which shrinks down original 140-watt bricks down by 22% without sacrificing power or quality. You can actually check out this charger and all of Ugreen's other products during their Black Friday deals happening now with up to 50% off their products. To do so, make sure you check out the links in the description down below. Thanks again to Ugreen for keeping my MacBook Pro always charged up and for sponsoring this video. So inevitably, there's a lot of talk about whether or not you should upgrade from the previous MacBook Pros, especially if you're just coming from the most recent generation, the M2 generation. As always, we see the same graphs, and yes, there are always improvements, but are they really going to revolutionize your daily tasks or daily workflows? The answers are usually mixed, with some saying that their M1 Max MacBooks are doing just fine. Well, that's the rub with my situation because I didn't and still don't think I'll go as far as getting a Max version of Apple Silicon. I'm not using CAD or creating 3D renders editors. I'm just editing videos for YouTube, like the one you're watching right now. And my previous M1 Pro MacBook Pro was doing a fine job of that. But you know what? It was still time to upgrade. Why? Because the choices that I made in every other aspect of that MacBook Pro I used to use needed to be updated. I went for the 16 gigabytes of unified memory and 1 terabyte of onboard storage, which served me fine at that time, but since then I've gotten further into multicam video productions, and I'm using motion VFX plugins, and over the last few months I have realized that I'm pushing that system to its limits. So with these latest space black MacBooks, I went for the M3 Pro processor, but I bumped everything up to a 36GB RAM and 2TB storage model. The updates in the processing power are gains that I will feel, but the move from a Pro to Pro processor is still fairly lateral. Instead, the ability to multitask and have multiple apps open for me to jump through as I go back and forth to DaVinci Resolve to finish my edits, all of that is way smoother. There are no more warnings that I have used up all of my memory, and there are no more warnings that I've used up all of my storage. Those were things that I was getting way too often lately as my 3-camera setup right here gets a little bit more demanding. This is all to say that there are more reasons than just the processors to upgrade to the new MacBook, so make sure you evaluate what parts of your current setup are actually getting taxed. If I had double the RAM and double the storage in my M1 Pro MacBook Pro, I probably would have stuck with it. But in a parallel universe, I may have splurged and gone for the full-on M3 Max model, but for one particular reason: gaming. Apple is making a huge push towards positioning themselves as a contender in the gaming space, and I do think there is a future there. As long as Apple can convince developers to actually make their games for macOS, a whole swath of consumers suddenly opens up. Not to mention how the ecosystem can kind of integrate with various other products. I already happily played Marvel Snap on my phones and on my MacBook, but maybe now you're playing Resident Evil on mobile, and then the saves automatically carry over via iCloud to the MacBook and you can continue there. Suddenly you have the makings of a pretty interesting gaming ecosystem. I did start playing Lies of P, which was interesting because a big gaming title like that was just sitting in the App Store like any other app. Apple maybe make a splash page for AAA titles so that everyone going into the App Store knows that these are titles that are available for your products. But then getting the game on Steam was still the way to go, because getting it on Steam means that I can play it on my portable gaming consoles, on my PC back home, and on the MacBook. It's available across all of them, and the more places that I can play my games, the better. So gaming does seem to have a future on these laptops, but you do have to bear in mind that all of that is still in its infancy, and even then, it seems that spending more money on the higher end Macs, and especially the iPhones, will be the potential barrier of entry for a while with anyone looking to game on Apple's products. Meanwhile, it's easy enough to get a gaming PC for under $1,000 to play all of those same games and a ton more. And because it can play those games, it can probably do certain workflows like my YouTube workflow pretty well. The only thing you're really sacrificing is perhaps a little bit of efficiency and certainly the battery life. And so, there you have it. The reasons why I went for the new MacBook Pros, which might be reasons that you can consider if upgrading to the new M3 processors is on your mind. And of course, a little bit of talk regarding the future of Apple gaming. Let me know, did you pick up a new MacBook Pro after the Scary Fast event? Let me know what your experience has been like in the comments downstairs. And if you decided against upgrading to one of these laptops, well, let me know why in the comments down below as well. A last shout out to Ugreen for sponsoring this video. Check out the Nexode 140-watt charger via the links I have in the description below. But from there, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for kicking it with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.